Welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with me and Welsh. Today's guest is Sister Shivani. I'm so honored she took the time out to speak to me. In times like these, you need people who could give you inspiration from the heart. She is amazing. I don't want to say much. Meet Sister Shivani. Hello, everyone. Again, welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today, I'm extremely honored to have Sister Urvashi with me here today. And you know what? What excites me is that some of you might not know this, that one of the things I've started practicing is how to meditate and find my own spiritualness. As a sickle cell sufferer, you go through so much challenges. But the only thing that gets you going and keeps you alive is when you find your own inner peace. Thank you, Sister Urvashi, for joining me on this platform today. And before we even start, I want the audience to know who you are. Could you give us a little bit of your background and
Yes,
then
I
we'll
can.
go into our full conversation?
Thank you. Yes, my name is Urvashi and I was born in the UK. I'm from an Indian background and I studied business management at university, which was in Bradford. So I'm a Yorkshire girl, as you say. But as soon as I finished my education, I actually moved into one of the centres of the Brahma Kumaris, a meditation centre, which is based in London. So I moved there in 94. And since 94 today, which is 26 years now, I've been practicing meditation and at the same time dealing with situations in my own personal life, dealing with work situations in terms of properties, administration, events. So my whole life is actually very colorful. And at the same time, the underneath the basis of that is meditation and tapping into my own inner strength and virtues. So I hope that's okay.
That's okay, because that's actually a focus of our conversation today, is tapping into your inner strengths. I would want you to really define when you say tapping into your inner strength, what do you mean by that? Because I want someone who's a lame person who just hasn't done any kind of meditation before. What would you describe tapping into your inner strength as?
Tapping into your inner strength is okay. I'll just give you a very simple situation. There may be a difficulty that comes into your life. There may be personal problems to do with your health, to do with your work, anything like that. But at that time, if I'm able to go deep within myself and find something that brings about a powerful energy, a force that, yes, I am going to be okay, or I am going to change something in myself, or I'm going to tackle this way. This feeling or this energy comes really deep from within the self, and that tapping into yourself, I find, happens when I keep my mind quiet, when I'm not thinking too much, and the moment I'm thinking a lot and I'm getting worried about something, that inner strength just remains hidden. So it's like a hidden jewel
Mm.
that's within each and every one of us, but we don't realize it's there.
How did you find your being brought up in the UK, and it's so busy, we're always on the go, no one ever seems to have time to slow down. How did you find that? When did this whole thing, how did you find your own inner strength?
Okay. I actually found it when I was at university. I remember a time when I was studying for one of my exams, and I was feeling quite a bit of pressure because it was coming to my final examination. And I remember at that time, my mother said to me, "Why don't you, on the hour, every hour, just stop reading and just sort of just feel peace, just experience peace." And I remember this one time I did that on the hour, and I would remember it. Okay, it's going to be 11 o'clock. Now it's going to be 12 o'clock. And whilst I was studying, and because I paused for that minute, um, I found something was happening within me that I was able to focus more, and my attention was also on, okay, it's now nearly 12 o'clock, it's now nearly 1 o'clock. And at the end of the day, I remembered that I felt so good in myself. And it's like this energy was created. And that's why this was probably about 30 years ago. But till today, I still remember that, just that one day when my whole life changed, that my gosh, that's all I need to do is to just stop once in a while, just once in a just to feel peace, to feel an energy, and then get back into action, get back into, and that actually was a breakthrough for me. So I would say I was probably about 18, 19 years old then.
So how did you take it on to become this, you speak everywhere, you know, this is now something you meditate and you do it for others. How did you go on to say, okay, this is something I need to actually help other people achieve in their own desire as well?
Well, I would say one thing actually happened again during my end of my studying. There was like an internal disinterest which started to take place. Even though I was studying and I was very happy, I could feel a shift. I felt, in a sense, my road was changing.
Mm.
And it was something I couldn't understand. And I remember one day I was just looking outside the window and looking up at the sky, and I just felt something different is happening to me, and I didn't know what. I was a normal girl, jeans girl, just typical. So nothing about me really, I would say, felt, yeah, something's going to happen in my life, or there's going to be a transformation. But that one day of changing the way I was thinking, um, I felt something's going to happen. And I remember there was this glimpse I had
Mm.
one day of, I just saw myself being actually at this place where I am now, which is our London quarters.
Mm.
I don't usually come here. I was based in Bradford, but I just felt it's like a premonition, I would say, a premonition. And I had this premonition, and again, I didn't make any sense of it. But 2 years later, um, when I decided this is what I wanted to do, I thought, gosh, this is where I am. This is where I need to be. But I didn't think too much. So I feel the inner strength really is about keeping the thoughts less,
Mm.
not thinking too much, overthinking, over analyzing. And
Mm.
I would say, and I always say that when I actually took that step, I was like a plain piece of paper. Can you
That,
imagine when like also in the Indian culture, you have like a, in Hindi, it's called Nawi Wo. Nawi Wo means like the new bride.
oh, wow.
So coming from a normal, typical house to a spiritual big hub, I would say, I
Mm.
was like a plain piece of paper. So, and I came here with absolutely no desire, no impression, no nothing. And so something happened in me that made me want to do this, but it's only because I didn't analyze at all, which I think is one of the biggest illnesses these days.
So, you see everything going on in today's world. There's such a fast-paced world, and for example, people have chronic illness, people going through all kinds of things in their lives, going through divorce or going through crisis of a financial crisis. In that midst of those pain,
Mhm.
how would you say someone to go and find your inner strength in that midst of those pain? What would be your strategy for telling coping strategy to deal with this?
Um, there's one thing which I always do, and it's a very simple thing. I try to remember what is that one goodness which is within myself. What is that one quality which is in myself, which is like awakens this feeling? And for me, this one thing is seeing the goodness in others and in myself. Just this one simple statement. And from a very young age, for the last 30 years, when when there are moments when I don't feel good about myself, or when health issues happens, I find this one statement. For example, I may not get on with someone so well,
Mm.
and it's like it's a situation that keeps on coming up again and again and again. And sometimes it's always one person that you have an issue with, or they have an issue with you,
Mm.
and it plays on your mind. And so when that happens, in a sense, my memory brings up that statement, Urvashi, see the goodness in that, see the goodness. And by that one statement, somehow, like something dissolves, just like when you get a paracetamol, in which dissolves, instantly it dissolves. So it's got to be something that really resonates with you.
Mm.
And I remember one time when I really went through a lot. It was a lot which happened. And again, this one statement which I made, I don't want to think about this. I do not want to think about this. This is what I was saying to myself. And that shifted the energy. So when there's whether it's an illness,
Mm.
whether it's trouble that you're having with someone, whether
Mm.
it's situations at work, whether it's you're feeling not good about yourself, we need something to bring that out.
Mm.
And that can only happen when I bring that out within myself. It's got to come from deep within.
Wow,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense, because that brings me to an episode. Reminds me, I was having this discussion with a friend of mine, and she said that she's having problems at work, not sure how to manage it, manage the staff at work, and she would take this back home, and that would stress her. She keep getting stressed, and she'd go back to work and keep going, and then she'd come to me and say, "Well, how do you think I should manage it?" In situations like that, when someone is really dealing with different issues of personality traits of people at work, how do you find it? How do I advise someone to calm down and to find the situation, find the balance in that situation?
Okay. Um, One thing is not to talk too much about it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and
I agree.
you see, what happens is, and I'm just being honest with you, we have a tendency that when something happens, we call our friend, we call this one, we call that, we want to release that.
Mm.
And that sometimes takes away our energy. And I've noticed when I talk to this one, and then sometimes somebody else comes in front of me who I confide with, I talk to them. It's that the energy's there. But when I sort of um, practice sort of that, okay, I'm going into work today,
Mm.
and I'm gonna just say just a few words and not more.
Mm.
I'm gonna just say a few words and not too. I'm not gonna speak too much. Your energy, the presence within you,
Mm.
um, can actually help change a situation,
Mm.
because the vibrations that I've created, and I've not created negative, that I don't want to say anything because
Mm.
I'm going to have a silent stance. Sometimes we don't say things because it's like sending someone to Coventry.
Mm.
There's that terminology.
Yes.
But no, I I don't want to say much. I'll just say a few words in the office, and you notice,
Mm.
people will notice as soon as you walk through the door, or when you get home, there's a difference.
Wow.
And many people have said that, those who've meditated, that because they've brought some inner change in themselves,
Mm.
that the moment they are in that same situation again, the same dialogue, and because they are now talking in a different way, because they are using less words. There was this one statement, I won't take too much of your time.
No, no, no. So
One, one statement which I read the other day, and I liked it a lot.
Mm.
We are used to listening and listening and listening these days, and doing less.
Mm.
Change that around. Listen a little, do more.
Mm.
And so So nowadays, because of technology, we are listening a lot and we are taking a lot, but
Mm.
the practical then doesn't happen because we're weak inside. We are listening, we're absorbing, but I'm I haven't spent any time with myself to just say, okay, Urushi, today I'm not going to think this way about someone. I'm going to change the way I'm thinking about this one particular person. And then the moment you see them the next day, because I've made that effort, that there's a difference.
I like what you said about listening, because today we have social media handles, we have the news, we have so much information, and it just keeps everywhere you look. There's something, there's an information there. But what key advice and what strategy would you say someone who's now saying, you know what, I need to calm this down, I need to start absorbing, I need to start focusing on my, what steps would you say these are the stepping stone to get to you to a place where you could start being calm and not be frightful of the news, but know how to channel that energy around? What strategy can you use for that?
Okay. It's a very simple strategy, but actually it will take time to discover. One is wanting to get to know myself. Um,
Mm.
it's very easy to try and say to someone, okay, now tell me something about yourself. But when I ask that same question to myself, do I really know myself?
Mm.
And I may know the negative side of me, but do I know the positive side, the
Mm.
real side of me, where that happiness
Mm.
is within the self? So, number one is really getting to know who I am.
Mm.
And when I go on my self discovery on who I am, then the question comes up on who is God. And we don't always like to tackle this subject on God, because it's someone which is like a personal deep faith for an individual. But tackling that, knowing myself, knowing God.
Mm.
And the third thing is knowing how to meditate. And actually, knowing how to meditate is linked to knowing myself and knowing God. And then, whatever situations come in front of you, um, I'm able to like safeguard myself on how to deal with that. Because until I know that all the qualities are within me, everything that I've been looking for, because one simple example of love, um, many are still wanting and needing love. And because maybe the childhood, they haven't experienced that love from their mom and dad. And when they go through their adolescence and relationships, that the need of wanting a relationship is there, a human relationship. And because the feeling is that if I if my need is fulfilled, um, and I'm using this word very bluntly, need, and we may not use that word need, but actually it is a need, a wanting, a need to feel love or to express love. And when I discover that actually that love is within me, it actually is there. And I just need to know how to open my own heart and feel that love for myself. And when I look in the mirror, and do I have I ever given myself a own hug, just like this? Do I ever have I ever done that? And so the more I discover that peace, love, happiness, understanding, respect, wisdom, everything is within myself,
Mm.
then naturally, you know what's going to happen? Naturally, others will, without even asking, will feel that regard for you, will feel there's something about you. And so not only is there transformation in you, but also in the people who you live with.
Wow. Yeah. In light of COVID-19,
Mm.
you've seen it's really. it's really pushed us to a limit where a lot of people have now had to search for their inner strength.
Yeah.
What have your thoughts been about the whole thing, and how have you managed to find your own inner strength during this time?
Um, I've been going to the park recently. I've been walking 1 hour a day. I've been in India for 2.5 months, um, within the lockdown period there. And so when I came back to the UK about a month ago, again within the end of the easing of the lockdown, one thing that I've noticed is that that there is a glimpse of peace in people.
Hmm.
And I remember the other day I went for a walk, and I was looking around in the park, and I was seeing people in families. They were strolling on, in front in the sun, or some were playing sports, or walking or jogging. Um, and I noticed that there was a glimpse of peace there.
Wow.
And and I don't know why. And even at the airport when I was coming back from India, it's like somehow this the COVID-19 has become an excuse for us to, number one, slow down. We still have technology, so technology
Mm,
is, we are zooming, 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 but that's happening. But it's a different thing. But um, in some,
mm,
in quite a few, I've noticed there is peace emerging, because ultimately, and I'm going to make a bit of a statement here, if that's okay with you.
absolutely.
Ultimately, um, we need to return to our inner real state of peace.
Mm,
And for me, this seems like a stepping stone, where no matter how chaotic the world may be, no matter how much um, things are happening out there, amidst all of that, um, the we call it the soul, the energy which is within the self. In a sense, this ray of peace that is starting to awaken within each and every one. That's what I've noticed.
and
It's
and
very quiet, but there's something which is there.
I totally agree with you, because I actually feel it when you go outside, when you go for walks. There's a calmness. Even
Mm,
when you look at lakes or rivers, you can even see the rivers. There's a calmness of it. It just,
mm,
everything just seems so different. But in light of all of that, there's still some people who have not been able to feel or see that peace.
yeah.
How would you, give them a message of hope in this situation, that of this COVID-19? How would they find their inner strength?
I would say that number one, turn off all technology at that time. Just spend
Mm,
just spend 5 minutes.
mm,
Find that one space in your home, whether it's in your living room, your bedroom, or out in the garden, where it's like, find that space in yourself that you know is there.
mm,
And I'm making that conscious effort to say, it's there, because we know it's there, but because of things which have affected our lives, which has brought trauma in our lives, one way or another, we we can't see. But the moment I just spend even 5 minutes, just me, myself, and I, um, and healing the self,
mm,
that is, it's healing myself. And just by those 5 minutes, just sitting quietly, and just, no matter what thoughts come into the mind, because they will come,
mm,
different things will come, but it's okay. But it's noticing that there is another side of me when
mm.
I sit quietly.
Wow.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
That makes sense because I think it is because as you're talking, I'm actually visualizing doing that myself to try
Yeah,
to distract myself, take away the television, take away the iPad, and just go outside in
everything.
space and really just
Yeah,
it's so hard to find that time for yourself. This is my problem. This is what I find. You're always doing and you just never make that even 30 minutes for yourself because you feel your mind has always told you you need to keep going, going, going.
mm,
And this is, really, really, really the reason I wanted to talk to you because I also need that ability to be able to find my own inner strength as well. It's
mm,
not just in the audience. I want to find my own inner strength so I could do more and be a better person for my family, my
yeah,
kids, especially who are highly dependent on me.
yeah.
So, for mothers out there, what would you tell them in able to, because they would be like, I have kids, I can't do this. What would be your advice to them?
Okay. I mean, I love mothers. I have a big, beautiful spot for mothers because I've always grown up with elderly people or old people or even young mothers in my life. Again, I think it's the same thing, even though, just like you said before, and I think this is really for anyone. Um, the moment I actually make a conscious effort that I want to do this, I want to spend 5 minutes not feeling guilty. Because one thing is we don't have time, which we know that. The other thing is feeling guilty that I'm taking time for myself. And actually, it's not feeling guilty because if I'm spending just even 5 minutes for myself, 10 minutes or half an hour for myself, um, not exercising, because we know how to exercise, we know how to do all the walks, we know all these things, but I'm saying this is something different. And actually, it's the most basic thing. And that is, it's like saying to myself, if I do this for myself, just even spending 5-10 minutes when I remember of fixing a time, um, then it's going to benefit me and it's going to benefit everybody around me. But it's like we make promises every year.
Mhm.
Christmas time, New Year's time, I promise this, I promise that, and we know what happens to promises. They're good for one day,
Yeah,
and they forget it. What was that promise again? It's a bit like that.
yeah.
So
For one day and the next.
about I am not talking about promises. I'm talking about something that really comes from your deep down heart, that I want to do this. And and one word which many people do not realize is a very powerful word, and that's consistency.
Yes.
And it took me a long time to discover, but when I'm consistent with something, for
Mm.
example, like I said to you, even if you spend 5 minutes every day just sitting down, okay, first day, you'll fidget and saying, what's all of this? Second day, okay, this is okay. Third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. I've been meditating for the last 26 years, every day meditating. And it's the consistency, because it's like I wanted to make something different in my life, because I wanted to not just help myself, but I wanted to help others around me. And that can only happen when there's consistency. And this one word, which is word we don't like to use with consistency, is discipline. And discipline actually is not a word which is a harsh word. And I discovered that internally for myself. Discipline is when um, I, I, I make a timetable for myself, very simple, just timetable for myself. And it's like, I remember this is what I've got to do. When I'm a little bit disciplined within myself, then I will make my attention to do it,
Yeah.
rather than thinking, okay, now today I won't, I've got to water the plants. So, okay, Urvashi, you can water your plants in half an hour's time. I'm only saying to you, just spend 5 minutes. And so it's like talking to yourself in this way that the moment you know you've got to do something, 100 other things will come in the way,
Yeah.
and they will be the most important things. And but no, when I've made my mind up, okay, I'm going to do this, just even 5 minutes, and then you'll see a routine, something will happen within you, that consistency actually becomes a great inner strength. And at the time when things are not going well, then your inner strength will come through. The moment, for example, like I shared one time about my dad, um, he was in hospital, and or everybody, the doctors said, no, he's not going to recover, we're going to do this and that. um, because there was consistency within myself, the moment I was hearing what was being said about him, because he had a stroke and half his side was paralyzed, left hand side. um, but because I had that consistency and a bit of that discipline within myself, I was able to listen with patience to what was being said. And then when I was with my dad alone, I had that inner strength to say, don't listen to anything that's being said. You're going to get better. You're going to get home. We're going to take you home.
Wow.
And I can only come when I make a bit of effort.
Does consistency come with, it has to be at the same time, or does it mean it just has to be whatever you do has to be repeated?
It can be both.
Okay.
I find actually when there's a fixed time, like here at our meditation centers, we have like a fixed time for when there's meditation. And and for example, I'll give you a simple example. In the evening between 7 to 7:30, we sit and meditate, and that's that half an hour is really dedicating to, when any situation comes in front of you, my meditation, even though I'm not thinking about the situation, but it's like it's dedicated to that time. So when I have consistency in terms of a time, then I will remember.
Ah,
So that's a good thing. I will remember, like I told you, when I was at uni, on the hour, just even before the hour, I knew it was going to be this. And so consistency will, you'll get awakened. Okay, this time's coming up, this is what I need to do. And that moment, I'll be very honest with you, that split moment, just watch what happens in your thoughts. There'll
mm,
be two things happening. One is that this energy will come, yes, I'm going to do it. Or then there's going to be this other side will come, nah, let me leave it today, I'll do it tomorrow. Or, I really have to finish this email. It's so important for me to do this. A lot of people are depending on me to finish this off.
mm.
So just check in that split second, and again, it's a split second, it's like a split moment, what's happening, and that makes or break our energy. And so again, when I'm consistent, this becomes more stronger inside.
Wow. Well, Sister Orishi, I'm so honored, but I never leave this without you leaving a final message on how to find our inner strengths. What will be your final messages that you will leave for someone out there who is listening? Also, how do we get in touch with you? Someone who has listened to this message and says, you know what, I need to watch all her videos and I need to get in touch with her. How do people get in touch with you as well?
Okay. Well, just to say, I don't do too many of these talks. Um, I'm actually quite a background person. I'm a person who's always behind the camera, if you would say. And
Watch the video.
but but and I'm just being honest with you. As I say, this is an open conversation, and so I'm more of a back person. And again, I decided when I was in India that whenever I get an opportunity to do this, I won't say no, because usually I like to leave to other people to do.
Oh, you
Um,
so
and
good.
so here I'm being as honest as possible with you. So I'm more of a background person, but on our websites, Brahma Kumaris, we have a lot of things which is going on for meditation. They can always contact you if they want to contact me, but there's a lot of people out there which from our organization which are again speaking this way and probably better as well. But from my side, I just want to say that it's not about nowadays, it's not about position, it's not about power, it's not about, you know, who has what. This one has this. It's really not about anything to do with that. Really, it's not. And if I'm able to really separate myself from the things that matter to me, which were the things which I call external, and if I'm able to now spend a bit of that time um, tapping into the beauty which is within the self. We all are beautiful souls. We all have so much capacity within us. We have so much to give, really. And it could only be to, maybe it's only to one other person you want to give something or share something, or it may be just to yourself. And so seeing through the things which really don't really matter, really, they do not really matter, and seeing the things that do matter, make them more the priority, give that energy, give that time to that, and then just see how fast you develop and move forward, because this really is the time. In a very short time, things can change very quickly, very instantly, and it can happen for anyone, really. It's not about, it can even be a 10-year-old who has had a lot of difficulties from a childhood. They could be watching this, listening to this. It doesn't matter what's happened, but in a very short time, things can change. It all depends on me wanting to change.
Wow,
So that's my simple message, really. Nothing more, nothing less.
that's really amazing, especially
Yeah.
in today's world. Is just for me, COVID taught me a lot of things about myself. Taught me about the importance. This is why this topic is so important, because it taught me about the importance of finding your own inner strength to survive, your willingness to survive, the willingness to look after those around you and protect them. And then your topic really sits on it, on really how to do it. Because sometimes I think I'm doing it, but I think I've really learned one or two things which I will really take away from myself and other people about how it's just that finding that time and being consistent.
Yeah. Can
It's,
I just say one thing, if that's okay?
no, no.
Um, Jealousy.
Mm,
Jealousy is a massive thing.
mm,
Jealousy, comparing,
mm,
sometimes you can go through so much
mm,
upheaval, so much hurt because of this one word, jealousy.
yeah,
Ego.
mm,
I think I've done everything, I've helped everyone, I've achieved everything, and then you've realized I've done absolutely nothing in my life, really,
because you're comparing with someone
because you compare it, so your ego is crushed. So these are the various other topics as well that which really it is about things that hit home. Jealousy for me is always a big thing. Comparing,
else.
attachment,
Mm,
attachment, what that does to the self, and how it can ruin the self just because of this word attachment,
mm,
and not recognizing there is attachment, because with attachment there's total denial with attachment. And anger, anger is not just on me shouting at you. it's being irritated, it's getting annoyed, it's frustrated, getting frustrated with so many things, but I'm not able to verbalize it going on in my mind. So there's anger, which is within the self. So it's like there's a whole ocean of other things, you know. But again, it's getting back to my own inner strength. If I'm able to tap into that, I can face these topics head on. You know, because they are real. You're not going to get them by watching things. It's to do with your day to day, what's happening in your lives. And for me, this is why I say I am a back person. I'm a person behind the camera, because you know, even abuse, you know, racism, all these things, you name it, I've seen it, I've observed it, I've been through many things. But it's this thing of this one statement, which I said to you right in the beginning, just seeing the goodness in myself, seeing the goodness in others. That statement alone has helped me conquer so much in my life.
Wow, it's true.
I'll stop there then.
No, I really like that, because you really touched on some really important issues, which people, if you don't know how to see it, if you don't know that the hating in someone is not because naturally you hate someone, it's because of now some anger that you've been harboring for so long, and your mind automatically thinks that you should say it, not knowing that if you know how to love your own self first.
Yes.
And this is what I love what you just said. When you learn to love yourself,
Yes.
It's almost like I love myself, loving another person. I could do that regardless.
Yes.
It is not going to be difficult. This is, yeah, I really hope you make more time for me to have a second conversation.
Sure.
That part, because I think that is a subject that needs to be discussed. Because that subject of love, I would love to have a part 2 with you on love, on how we could teach ourselves to love.
Yeah.
And what are the barriers holding us from love? Because that breeds in so many things. It breeds in racism, it brings in hate, it brings in discrimination of all level. That love, it brings in even divorce that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you marry someone for a reason, all of a sudden. I mean, yeah. I'm really honored that you took the time for me. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you.